Namaste. I have a question about the difference between surrender and giving up. For example, if I have a desire and I genuinely offer it, it usually disappears for me or becomes less and less intense. Like it honestly doesn't matter if it happens or not. Am I in the right direction or am I giving it up? So I love this because it really kind of this is how it works. Yes. So all right. If you've genuinely offered, let's say you have an obsession about something and it's completely torturing you. And people have these all the time. And you know, you really take it and you offer it to the divine. And what I'll do is, I'll often say, just please allow this to become a preference. Because preferences, you're not in prison. When it's a raging desire, like I have to have this or I'm going to die or I'm going to be mad at eternity till, the end of time, those are what put you in prison, psychological and spiritual prison. So if you're really saying allow this fixation, this obsession, this raging desire to become a preference, help me to surrender, you are 100% right. It often, over time, becomes less and less intense. So that's just the truth. And it's, I would say the irony of this, at least in my own life, and I find this a lot for old souls, the irony is that when the desire is truly offered, like you're describing, and then over time, it's truly surrendered and it becomes less intense and it kind of morphs into a preference, that is so often when it's fulfilled. I've used the example of myself so much about relationship. It's like my Libra rising, it just was like, oh, how could life be without a partner? And then the more it was offered, it just, I don't know, it was like you become whole inside with or without it. That's the only way I can describe it. And that is so often when it's fulfilled because you're no longer trying to use the external thing to fix a broken part of you. So I think you've pretty much nailed it. The thing about giving up, it's quite different. There's a giving up that I found, the person, to me, the giving up is more from the ego. The giving up is like, it's often accompanied by bitterness. Have you noticed? Or by a kind of annoyed or angry resignation. Like, well, damn it, I'm never going to get what I want, so I'll just give up. And that's usually the voice of the ego, doing its thing. I'm not blaming it. It's just, it's a particular voice of the self going, I want what I want, and doesn't look like it's coming, so screw the world. But the genuine surrender, as you're mentioning, is quite different because it's actually a road to wholeness. It's really where you're saying, allow me to feel whole with or without this thing, whatever it is. Let me feel whole with or without it. Let it morph into a preference so I can feel whole with or without this. You're not blaming yourself for having the preference. You're not saying, oh, if only you were evolved, you wouldn't want that. It's none of that. There's nothing that's wrong to want. It's just part of being human. But when it's allowed to be offered and become a preference, you're out of prison. It's that simple. You're finally letting life do what it needs. And if it's saying, well, yes, you'll have this, but it'll come once you're no longer furious at the world for not being there. Boy, have I ever seen that over and over. I watched this woman. She was so mad. It's one of the hardest topics in the world. She was so mad she could not get custody of her kid. This is this horrible mess. and she was just enraged. And she was enraged like every day. And at some point, she wrote me this letter, and she found Change Me Prayers, the book. And anyway, she just started changing, and she just started saying, help me let go about this. I'm not winning. Help me let go. Let me be okay. If the destiny of this child is to stay with his father, help me let go, because I can't live in this torture every minute of my day anymore. Help me let go. And, where the story eventually went is a different judge came on, and, she eventually did end up back with half custody. And I'm convinced it's because she had completely let go. She had burned through all the rage and all the blame and all the victimization, and she finally just said, I can't live like this anymore. Help me let go. Help me have a life with or without my kid, which has got to be one of the hugest things to do. And then she got the kid back. And that doesn't mean it always goes that way. She became whole anyway, even before the kid came back, because she just couldn't bear being that enraged at reality anymore. So, all right. So, yes, I think you are totally on the right track.